Hello and welcome to the Bold Believers Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Dawn, and in today's episode, we are talking about how your comfort zone is keeping you from fully living in your purpose. We are talking about growth, we're talking about feeling safe, and why it might be time to do something that really stretches you. Our comfort zone, I feel, this is my personal opinion, is something that we need to move outside of on a regular basis. And I don't think we constantly need to be right at the edge. I think that can lead to problems. Like if we're constantly in growth and we're never grounding into where we are and really settling into the new space that we've evolved into before going on to that next level, I think that can lead to problems. So in my opinion, we should be stretching ourselves. We should be growing. We should be doing things that make us wildly uncomfortable. And then we should be resting into that new area and stay there for a little bit, but we should also be paying attention to what God is calling us to do and making moves when we know we need to make them. Because comfort can show up in some sneaky ways. And this happens even if you're really driven and ambitious, because comfort isn't just bubble baths and, lattes and warm fuzzy blankets. That's not what we're talking about here. Comfort can show up as procrastination. If there's something that you know you're called to do, but you're waiting to feel ready, that's you staying in your comfort zone. It can be avoiding a new level of visibility because you're afraid of judgment. It can be staying with your familiar offers or your current pricing or your current messaging, even when you know those things are no longer aligned. Maybe you've known for a while that it's time to raise your prices. Maybe you've known for a while that it's time to create a new offer or pivot in your business with the specific type of work that you do, or change your ideal client and start working with someone who you truly want to work with at this level in your business right now. But you're holding off because it's safe where you are right now. What you are is working, and this is the trap that we can fall into. On the surface, everything is fine. Everything is running smoothly. You're showing up, you're creating content, you have sales coming in, things are working, there's no real problem. But deep down, we always know, right? Like we always know when it's time to really stretch ourselves. And we're always growing, we're always expanding. That's part of being alive. That's part of being human. We don't stay the same unless we make that choice later on in life. Like the version of you who is 3 years old is very different than the version of you who's 40, obviously. It's kind of a silly example. But we're always growing physically. We're aging. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, we're always growing. But we can get to a point as adults where we put the brakes on and we think, you know what, that's enough. I've done enough. And this can happen in our business because our business is meant to grow and evolve as we do. And so our comfort zone can show up in some somewhat sneaky ways because it looks like everything is working on the surface level, and it can be. There can be no real problem in your business, but we always know when we're settling, when we're real with ourselves, when we get really honest with ourselves and with God, we know, you know what? I've been holding back here. I've been settling here. I've been resting here a little bit too long. It's one thing to take a pause, to really be where you are and settle in there for a little bit. But it's another thing to stay there when you know you've outgrown that place. And the thing is, your purpose work, it requires discomfort. It requires growth and risk and vulnerability and visibility and failure. Like all of these things are tied to our purpose. And I think often people feel like if it's my purpose work, it should be really easy. And while that might be true when it comes to the type of work that you're doing, like the type of work that you're doing with your purpose, it could be something you could do in your sleep. It could be something that you can do with, zero problem whatsoever because it comes to you so naturally. That's one thing. But God isn't just going to hand you your purpose on a silver platter and have everything roll out smoothly for you. There are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that stretch you in so many different ways. And that's the beauty of it, because how boring would life be if we were never, ever stretched outside our comfort zone? I like comparing this to a video game. I haven't even played video games since I was a very, very young teenager, so it's been a while. But back in the day, I had a Nintendo, and I used to love Super Mario Brothers. Super basic, but that was my all-time favorite game. And with any kind of video game, there are going to be levels, there are going to be challenges. And if you've ever played a game like that, can you imagine going from point A to point B and automatically winning with no failure, with no challenges, with no growth in skill required? It would be so boring. Nobody would want to play video games. And I think life is the same way. I think there are moments where things come to us so easily, and that's really fun. It's like, wow, that opportunity, that just opened up right in front of me. Like, that was the easiest thing ever. And I think those moments are really beautiful. But I also think those moments where we're challenged, where we need to lean into the fire, where we need to walk through something that we never thought we would be able to walk through, I think those moments are so valuable. Because for one, it reminds us that we have God to rely on. There are things that we just can't even fathom doing without God. It's His strength that really carries us through a lot of our seasons. And also, we grow into a person that we can be proud of. We can look back and say, look what I've done. Like, look how far I've come. Look how much I've grown over the years. Like, when I look back to my early 20s, when I was drinking and drugging and completely numbing myself, not even wanting to be alive on this planet, I can look back and, I can love on that little version of me all day long. But I'm so grateful that I'm not there anymore. I'm so thankful that I've grown. I'm so thankful for the challenges. I'm so thankful for the different things that I learned and the person I had to become to get me out of that space. And where I am now, I'm going to look back in a few years and think, wow, I'm so glad that I've grown from where she was. It's this constant evolution that we're part of, but it's not always supposed to be comfortable. Comfort can numb our desire. Our purpose amplifies it. Like when you have that vision drop in from God and you're like, oh, wow, can I really do this? Is this really meant for me? Because this feels really big. That lights a fire, like a God-fueled fire within us to go out there and do things that are bigger than us. And I think this is such a big piece of purpose work. Because our purpose, it's not just about us, it's about the people that we're impacting. And when we get our butts out of the way, and we let God take over and move through us and give us the strength, give us the courage, give us the ability, give us the skill to go and do the things that we need to do to live in that purpose, yes, it's going to benefit us, but also it's benefiting all of the other human beings that we are meant to reach. The lives that you are meant to impact are not going to be impacted when you're staying inside your comfort zone. So here's some signs that you might be choosing comfort over purpose. Here are some signs. Number one is you're stuck in constant planning instead of executing. And this was my favorite place to be in my business for the longest time. I love to plan things. I do a combination of online planning. I got Notion and, what's the other one? Trello. There we go. I forgot the name of it there for a second. But Notion boards, Trello boards, paper planners. Like, I love planning because it's fun for me, but it's also safe. And so planning without executing is choosing to stay in comfort. Another thing, and this is for you if you identify as someone who's multi-passionate, you keep changing your mind, your offers, your niche, your pricing, like you keep bouncing around to all these different things. And you tell yourself it's because you're multi-passionate. It's because you're moving in the direction you're called. This is what we do when we're in the space. That's what we tell ourselves. But really, we're just afraid to commit. Like I've had clients in the past who they want to create a new offer every other week. And for some people, that works beautifully. There's no right or wrong way to do online business. There's just not. But for some people, when they're in that space, the reason why they feel like they have all of these ideas that they need to implement is because they're avoiding learning what they need to learn that's actually going to create the results. And in this case, it would be sales. And so in some of the client conversations I've had over the years, I've encouraged people not to create so many offers. Like create one offer and go all in with that, learn how to sell it, and then from there, build out your product suite. And then other people, the mentorship I give is completely different because things are selling, things are working, and they're actually fueled and energized by creating multiple offers all the time. If they stuck with one offer, they would be so bored in their business, they just want to quit. But it's really about knowing where you're at, and are you in this space where you're afraid to commit to something, or are you changing your mind because that's actually the aligned thing to do? Another sign that you're choosing comfort over purpose is you're sticking with safe actions that feel productive, but they don't stretch you. And I remember when I was there, we're going back to 2021. I was in a place in my business where I was making money consistently and things were really good, but I knew there was just more there. And I had been doing basically the same thing as far as strategy for a long time. And I hired this coach. She was a marketing coach, and I was paying her $10,000 a month to work with her. And what she had me do was DM people. And over the years, I've worked with a bunch of different coaches and mentors. I've tried a ton of different strategies. And one thing I always hated doing was DMing people, because prior to working with her, the way that I was taught to DM people felt really gross. Like it was if you've been in an MLM before, or if you've ever received a DM from someone in a multi-level marketing company, often the DMs, they're very scripted. Hey girl, how's it going? It feels very forced. It feels very unnatural. And I was taught to do DMs a certain way that I really didn't like. So when this particular coach was encouraging me to reach out to people who were already in my world, they were warm leads, they had been watching my content, we've already had some interactions, every bone in my body was like, nope, we are not doing that. We are not DMing people because that's slimy, that's sleazy, that's gross, and I never ever want to do that again. And I remember feeling all the resistance pop up in my body, and my comfort zone was stretched to the max. But I had a lot on the line. During that point in time, I had my regular life stuff to pay for, my regular rent and my bills, and I had other coaches that I was paying that I was on payment plans for. And then this woman was $10,000, and if I didn't make the money, I wasn't going to be able to pay her. And one thing I will always do is pay the people that I sign up to work with. And so I did the thing that she suggested I do, even though I didn't want to do it. And it worked. And I remember being amazed because at that point in time, the DM strategy I was using back then, this is before I did my pivot. So I had a much larger audience. I would look at who was watching my stories, and I would notice some familiar faces. And these are people that I already had some touch points with. And I would reach out and I would say something along the lines of like, hey, I see that you're doing X, Y, and Z and you're crushing it. Like, this is amazing. I can also see where you're leaving money on the table, or like where more money is available here in your business. Do you want to have a quick conversation where I share with you what I see? And those weren't the exact words, but that was kind of the gist of it. And we would have a conversation. I would freely give them the value during that conversation, like I said I was going to do up front in the DMs. But then I would say, hey, like, do you want to keep working together? Like, we can do X, Y, and Z. And we would have a whole conversation about their business goals. And if it was something I knew I could help them with, I pitched my offer. And I thought that people were going to be really mad at me for being in their DMs. That's the story that I had playing back then. Like, oh, they're going to hate me. They're going to be so annoyed. They're going to think I'm pushy and sleazy and all of these things, because that's the way that I used to feel when I was doing DMs. But the majority of the people I had conversations with, they were so grateful that I reached out. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to work with you for a while. I've just been kind of scared to take that leap. And so I was scared to reach out and DM the people in my audience. They were scared to reach out and say, hey, I want to work with you. So I moved out of my comfort zone and I did the thing that I really, really didn't want to do. Now I'm at a point in my business where I'm going back to not the exact same strategy, because my business is very different, but I'm getting into the habit of having conversations with people in the DMs instead of just doing attraction marketing. And I'm loving it. And there was still some resistance that came up. I'm doing things very differently now and just really focusing on building connections and getting to know people, and things are in a different spot obviously now than they used to be, but there was still that discomfort there. But I've been in this game long enough to know when I feel that discomfort, that does not mean stop. That means look at why I don't want to do it, check in with my mindset, do a little bit of journaling, go to God and pray about it. Again, something that I never used to do because I wasn't with God. But I keep moving. I don't stop just because I'm uncomfortable. All right. And then the other thing, another sign that you're choosing comfort over purpose is you're avoiding investments that scare you, even when they're aligned investments. Now, I'm not going to be the coach who tells you that you always have to be investing in yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to grow. You're never going to be successful unless you have a coach. I'm not going to say that to you. What I will say is you know when it's time. You know if there's something that you need support with. And that's going to be up to you. But if you're not acting on that because you're afraid, you're choosing comfort over your purpose. Whether that's a course, a one-to-one coach, whatever it is. When you have that desire drop in for support and you don't let yourself have it because you're telling yourself you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you're already in another program, you're kidding yourself. To wrap things up here, your purpose is going to be uncomfortable. If you're really going all in, there are going to be moments where it feels kind of scary because you're moving into the unknown. God is calling you to something that you've never done before. And there are going to be seasons of rest. There are going to be seasons where you just ground into where you are and everything feels easy and flowy, and that's beautiful. But there are also going to be times when you do have to stretch yourself if you want to grow, which you don't have to, right? We have free will. We have the option to not do those things. Totally up to you. But if you really want to go all in, expect discomfort. That's part of it. And discomfort, it's not a sign that you're moving in the wrong direction. It's a sign that you're right on the edge of expansion. You're right there. You're right on the edge. And if you keep retreating back into your comfort zone, you're going to keep getting the same old, same old. Again, which is fine if that's what you want. But if you want something different, it is going to require you to grow and to evolve and to stretch. All right. I'm going to wrap things up today here with you. If you want to connect further, I opened up a brand new Facebook group. It's called the Bold Woman Collective. Brand new Facebook group. And inside this group, I'm going to be sharing a lot of the regular content that I share on social media, but I'm also going to be doing some free trainings that are specific to the group. They're not going to be available anywhere else. They're going to be totally free. You're going to be able to come into the group and ask me questions and get some free coaching, some free support. And as the group grows, you're also going to have a community that you can network in. I want you to be making sales in your business. I want your business to be growing. And so we do have some guidelines around promotions and everything. I don't want it to turn into a spam fest, which is what happens with some Facebook groups. But I want you to be planted in a space where it's okay to desire more impact and more income and more growth and expansion, where it's safe for you to put yourself out there boldly. Like if there's a post that you're holding off on putting out on your main page, I want you to come into the group and at least put it there and get used to that feeling of discomfort in a safer environment where, yes, there's other people watching you, but, not the entire world. Facebook groups are actually where I got my start in business going back years ago. And I remember my very first group, at that time, I think there were maybe 100 people in it. And I was terrified to go live on my main page, on my main platforms. This is when Facebook Live was just becoming a thing. That's how long ago this was. But I had a Facebook group and I had those 100 people and they felt like family. So I could go in there and I could go live and I could build my confidence that way. So I want this for you as well. If there's something that you want to put out there, if there's something that you want help with, come into the group, ask questions, and take advantage of the free content that's going to be rolling out as the group gets growing. I will put the link to that below in the show notes. And then the other thing I have for you right now is a 3-day Voxer intensive. So my regular work that I do with clients, it is 6 months long. It involves connecting on 2 calls a month, and you also get Voxer access. So there's a lot of support there. But I also know that some of you are in that space where you just want really quick laser coaching. Like there's one thing that you just feel really stuck on. And maybe you're already working with another coach. Maybe you're in a space where you're not ready for a bigger investment, but you know that you need support. During this 3-day Voxer experience, you're going to come in and get daily support over the course of 3 days. For this particular offer, I'm going to be checking in with Voxer 2 to 3 times a day. For my usual clients, when we have 6 months together, I'm in there once or twice a day. But because this is an intensive, I'm going to be in there more often. You're going to be able to come in, ask your questions, share with me what's going on in your business. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to focus on to shift whatever area you're feeling stuck around. So my entire process is vision, strategy, mindset, and faith. So whatever it is that you're struggling with those areas, maybe it's a fear of being seen. Maybe there's a strategy issue. Maybe you've been doing the same old in your business and you're called for another offer, like you're called to make another offer, but you're kind of up in your head around the details of it. We can fix all of this inside a 3-day intensive. And right now they're only $222. So I would definitely jump on that if this is speaking to you. If you want in on that, send me a DM over on Instagram or on Facebook at It's Kelly Dawn. I hope you have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. And as usual, I can't wait to speak with you in the next episode.